The United States immigration system is about to experience some of the most significant changes in recent history, and if you are planning to travel, work, or live in the US, what I'm about to share with you could affect your plans more than you realize. From stricter visa requirements to new rules on green cards, work permits, and even entry protocols, 2026 is shaping up to be a pivotal year. First, let's talk about visa processing. The US has been facing a backlog of applications for years, and this is only going to intensify as new security protocols come into effect. Applicants for work visas, student visas, and even tourist visas will notice longer processing times, more stringent background checks, and additional documentation requirements. For example, proof of employment, financial stability, and even social media histories may be required, and interviews could become more detailed and comprehensive than ever before. The goal, according to immigration authorities, is to ensure national security and prevent fraud, but for everyday travelers and workers, this means more preparation and attention to detail. If you're planning to apply for an H-1B visa or an L-1 transfer, it's crucial to start your application months in advance, because delays could affect your employment start dates, educational enrollment, and even your ability to travel. It's not just work visas that are changing. Student visas are also being scrutinized more carefully. Universities and colleges in the US will need to provide additional verification of enrollment, academic progress, and financial capability. Students from certain countries may face mandatory interviews, and the USCIS system that tracks international students will become stricter in monitoring attendance, course load, and travel outside the US. Failure to comply with these new rules could jeopardize your visa status or even result in early termination of your program. Meanwhile, tourist and short-term business visas are not immune either. Travelers may face additional entry questions, biometric checks, and even mandatory pre-screening before boarding flights. Airlines themselves are being asked to verify passenger documentation more rigorously, which means arriving at the airport early is no longer just a convenience, it may be mandatory to ensure you make your flight. Another critical area of change involves green cards and permanent residency. The US government is updating its policies on who qualifies, how long the process takes, and the documents required. Employment-based green cards are facing additional scrutiny, particularly in industries with high demand like technology, healthcare, and engineering. Employers sponsoring foreign workers may need to provide more detailed justifications for hiring internationally, and even after approval, recipients might experience delays in receiving their physical green cards. Family-based green cards are also affected. Sponsors and applicants may need to prove deeper financial stability, stronger family ties, and more evidence that the immigrant will not become dependent on public benefits. Additionally, conditional residency and adjustment of status processes will be monitored more closely, so anyone planning to bring a spouse, parent, or child to the US should be prepared for additional interviews and documentation requests. Another major shift is the expansion of biometric and digital monitoring at US entry points. By 2026, most US airports and land border crossings will implement advanced facial recognition and fingerprint scanning systems. These systems are intended to expedite entry for legitimate travelers while preventing unauthorized access, but they also raise concerns about privacy and the security of personal data. Frequent travelers may notice that their faces and fingerprints are now permanently linked to their immigration records, creating a digital trail that is stored indefinitely. This is important to understand, because any discrepancy in records, whether from a lost passport, a name change, or even a minor visa error, could lead to delays or denial of entry. In addition, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection is expanding pre-clearance programs in other countries, which means travelers may need to undergo screening before even boarding a plane to the U.S. This can save time at arrival but also adds an extra layer of responsibility for documentation and compliance. Work permits are also undergoing transformation. Temporary work visas, including H-2B and H-2A categories, will now require more detailed employer applications, labor certifications, and proof that no U.S. worker could fill the position. Workers themselves may be subjected to background checks, health screenings, and verification of skills before being allowed to enter the U.S. Furthermore, certain sectors such as hospitality, agriculture, and construction are being monitored for compliance, meaning even if you have previously held a permit, renewed applications may now be delayed or subject to additional scrutiny. Meanwhile, asylum seekers and refugees will encounter new regulations as well. Processing times are expected to increase, interviews will be more thorough, and documentation requirements more demanding. Certain eligibility criteria may be tightened, meaning that individuals must provide more evidence of persecution or risk in their home country. For people traveling from countries experiencing conflict, this could have a significant impact on how quickly they can access protection in the U.S. Beyond visas, green cards, and work permits, there are also updates to naturalization and citizenship processes. Those seeking U.S. citizenship may see longer waiting periods, increased background checks, and stricter English and civics testing procedures. Applicants may also need to demonstrate ongoing compliance with U.S. laws, taxes, and residency requirements more rigorously than before. Even minor mistakes on forms or missed deadlines could have larger consequences than in previous years. Another area that is changing silently but significantly is travel enforcement and border inspections. U.S. border agents will have expanded authority to conduct digital searches, review devices, and request detailed travel histories. For business travelers or students, this means every trip could be subject to scrutiny, especially if crossing multiple times within a short period. It's important to understand that these checks are legal, and refusal to comply could result in denial of entry or even temporary bans. For families planning to move to the U.S., these changes create both challenges and opportunities. Proper planning, understanding the documentation required, and keeping all personal records up to date is more important than ever. Even small mistakes, like using an old passport photo, having inconsistent personal information across documents, or failing to report a temporary change of address, could complicate your immigration journey. Technology is another double-edged sword in this new immigration landscape. While online applications, digital document uploads, and electronic monitoring can make some processes faster and more convenient, they also mean that your entire immigration history is permanently tracked. Errors in the system, loss of digital access, or issues with identity verification could have long-lasting consequences. So, staying informed and proactive is essential. There's also news for U.S. employers. Companies hiring international talent will now face additional responsibilities, including compliance audits, verification of qualifications, and detailed reporting to federal agencies. Failing to adhere to these rules could lead to fines, revocation of sponsorship privileges, or other penalties. Even employees themselves need to be aware that they may be asked to provide ongoing proof of employment, pay stubs, and other documents to maintain their legal status. For students, professionals, and travelers alike, understanding these changes is critical. Ignorance is no longer an excuse when systems are digitized, monitored, and standardized. Preparing ahead of time, keeping multiple copies of documents, knowing your rights, and understanding both the process and timelines will save stress, money, and potentially prevent serious disruptions. So, what can you do today to get ahead? Start by checking the expiration dates on passports, visas, and permits. Make digital and physical copies of all key documents. Keep a personal travel log including previous entries and exits, so you can quickly provide accurate information if asked. Stay updated on policy announcements from the Department of State, USCIS, and CBP. And if you are unsure about your eligibility, requirements, or status, consider speaking with an immigration attorney or expert who understands the changes and can guide you properly. The future of U.S. immigration in 2026 is clearly moving toward a more monitored, documented, and digitally integrated system. For frequent travelers, students, workers, and families, this is a call to action. Knowing the rules, understanding what is expected, and preparing your documents in advance will not only save time but will also protect you from unexpected delays, fines, or denial of entry. The key takeaway here is that 2026 will not be a year to assume things are the same as they were. Everything from visas, green cards, work permits, border inspections, digital monitoring, and even simple entries and exits will be more regulated. Travelers need to treat the system seriously, keep everything updated, and always anticipate additional checks or requirements. Staying informed, proactive, and organized is no longer just a recommendation, it's essential. These immigration changes will affect millions of people, from students dreaming of studying in the U.S., professionals seeking better opportunities, families trying to reunite, to travelers exploring the country. Being one step ahead, knowing the latest requirements, and preparing in advance will be the difference between a smooth experience and frustrating delays that could derail your plans. So as you plan your next trip, work assignment, or family relocation, Remember that knowledge, preparation, and vigilance are your best allies in navigating the 2026 U.S. immigration system successfully.